So, Suzuka in Group 2 cars for Daily Race C this week. Incredible. But so hard. What's up, guys? Kizzy here again with another video. It's a very difficult combo, I will admit. It's very tricky, it's very complex. Suzuka in itself is a very technical track. It has lots of different corners from all different types. And in cars such as Group 2, which are very fast, but at the same time very, very snappy, you really have to drive on the edge, but at the same time have very good control of what you're doing with your inputs. That's not easy for everybody. Sometimes not even for the aliens that drive these cars. And I'm not even close to that type of skill. But anyway, I want to show you my races of a few days back, and I want to show you my experience with this combo in Daily Race C this week. So let's go to the track. So here we are, race 1. I'm starting P4 in this race of the day, first race of the day for me, on a Tuesday, if I remember correctly. So I'm starting P4 just behind Zay, Luke, and Levicius. If you're very well aware, Zay is a very quick driver. Luke has been my coach and also a very quick driver. And Levicius is a very well-known Twitch streamer, South African racer. If you want to go check him out, by all means go and do so, because he's very quick and fast and very good at what he does. Then I am going through the SS and I find P5 already overtaking me on the exit of the SS heading into Dunlop curve. But at the same time, Luke is having a little bit of a struggle coming off the Dunlop curve. Gets a little bit of a snap with the curb, and that allows me to stay in P4. So just an exchange of positions right there for a very temporary occasion. Now, I'm heading into the hairpin, exiting the hairpin, and at this point I'm just trying to maintain the gap that I have in front of me. Also very wary of the people that are behind. I don't want to find myself into too much battling very early at the start of the race, but I also don't want to leave the people in front of me to leave me in the dust. So I'm trying to keep up the pace, trying to find my flow state, and this is not the way to do it. I pretty much overshot Casio Triangle. The reaction on my face says it all. And now we're heading into lap 2, and the driver in P3 is going to go a little bit deep into turn 1, so that allows me to go back into podium spots. And now my goal is just trying to stay as close as I possibly can from Zay and Levicius, who are dictating the pace. So of course they're very, very fast, much faster than I could ever be at this point. So I'm just trying to do my best effort to maintain the gap, or find a moment where they possibly make a mistake or start battling, and then I can catch up. But I'm also having to struggle with the driver in P4 because he is catching up to me fairly quick. And at this point, I started to really begin to wonder if I was completely off the pace. So I needed to do something to try to establish some type of gap or some type of leeway that I can pull myself out of that problem, and found myself much more comfortably in P3 at the time. So we're heading into Spoon now. And I am going to take the exit at Spoon 2, heading into 130R. And by this point, he's in the slipstream, just above 0.3 of a second. And obviously the slip is going to help him cut the gap. And now he is just right behind my tail at this point again. So just under 0.2, 0.3. Delta is just varying at this time. But then he's going to have a little bit of a struggle coming off from Dunlop curve, a slight mistake. And the gap increases back again to almost 0.7. So this gives me a little bit of a cushion now to breathe and to try to re-establish my pace and my flow once again. Taking the Casio Triangle one more time at the end of lap 4. And this is going to be good news for me because he's heading into the pits and he was actually on soft tires. So that explains why he was able to catch up to me fairly quick. So that puts a smile in my face at that time at the start of lap 5. So now it's just a matter of trying to see if I can hold my gap with the 2 drivers in front of me and maybe have a chance at a better position. But for now, I'm very happy at P3. I just need to maintain that pace. I just need to keep the push that I'm keeping, not overshooting myself, not pushing any harder than I should to cause a mistake. And at this point, comfortably sitting at P3 still, ending lap 5, jumping into lap 6. As you can see, the pace that I had was pretty much above a second from the fastest lap that the Levicius has set at 1:45.4. and he was also on medium tires as well, just like I was. So that clearly shows the difference in pace that the two drivers in front had compared to myself. But I was at least filling into those podium spots and just having a good time, just racing by myself and clear air, to be fair. No battles to be thinking about, and no drivers to be wary of in the back of me. I was obviously conscious of the previous driver that had already switched from softs to mediums, and I needed to pit myself. So that's what I did in P8, and this is going to be the fastest pit change that you're going to see. Just immediate teletransportation right away. Pit crew doing the perfect job right there. So now, coming off the pits, starting lap 9, I can see that the driver actually is in P6 at this time, and it's Algebron then that takes P4 with the pace that he was building. So I'm finding myself with almost 6 seconds of gap between me and the closest driver behind me. So this allows me to just breathe, keep chilling throughout the rest of the race, and just try to secure the East podiums spots as best as I could. And I was actually starting to find a little bit of a good rhythm. I'm improving my best lap up to 1.2 seconds at this point, obviously with the change of tires from mediums to softs. And I was going to be able to put the fastest lap of the race at the end of lap 10. And it's going to be just under 1:45, which to me was pretty quick, pretty comfortable. I actually was very happy with that pace. So I'm going to finish this race in P3, first podium of the day. Pretty comfortable, pretty happy. So now let's jump into race 2, and this is going to be a funny moment. Look ahead. So I'm laughing, just chatting with the people in the lobby, and I almost forgot to change my tires. So I tried to jump very quickly last second to change from softs to mediums, starting again in P4, pretty much the same lineup that we had, but then tires didn't change, and my reaction says it all. I was completely flabbergasted and discombobulated at what happened. I thought I had the change done, so I was gonna have to start the race on soft tires going in P4. And if you have tried this throughout the week, you already should know that this is a very, very bad idea. And that is because of 2 reasons. For one, starting with soft tires, you obviously have more fuel in your car, so that already puts a lot more weight and strain into the tires, so you're going to be wearing them out much faster. And the 2 is that you're going to have traffic ahead that will probably be starting on the medium tire, so they're going to be slower than you. So you may be able to catch up fairly quick to them, but Suzuka in itself is a very difficult track to overtake. So you're going to just wear out your soft tires, not gain any positions out of it potentially, and then when you have to change into mediums and the other people have to change into softs, there you're going to be the sitting duck trying to run away from them, but it's going to be almost impossible to do it. So at this point, we finished lap 1 in the race, and I'm just sticking ahead with the pack. This time I'm keeping a better pace. I'm just maintaining my distance from Levicius right ahead of me in P3. I also had Rory right behind in P5. He was racing on a Tuesday. Very surprising, but obviously all welcome. I enjoy Rory's content and Rory's racing, and it's always a pleasure to race with him and the other drivers that I have right in front. So here's going to be the not so great moment of this race. I'm actually going to overshoot Spoon 1, and in my rejoin, it was a very bad rejoin from my behalf, and the driver in P6 actually ends up bumping me on my rejoin, and unfortunately he gets a 2-second penalty because of that collision. If you're watching this, I'm very sorry. I didn't intend to cost you that penalty, mate. And then Rory was going to have a similar situation with Levicius ahead, and he's also going to have a 2-second penalty for that collision that he did. So at this point, I'm already conscious that I have 2 drivers in front with 2-second penalties, so that's potentially 2 positions, unless I mess it up at Dunlop curve, and that's exactly what I did. I end up going wide again, and I'm gonna end up losing 1, 2, and 3 positions coming right down to P10 now. So this is gonna be an interesting race that I'm gonna have to somehow rescue. And we're heading into 130R at the end of lap 3. And I completely forgot about the 2-second penalties from the 2 drivers, Rory and the other British driver. I'm flying past 130R, and I was not prepared to this slowdown. And now I'm going to try to take evasive action, but unfortunately, I'm not able to control the line in the car. I end up hitting Rory in the process and knock myself out of the track. So that's just going to cost me 4 more positions right at that point, all the way down to P14 at the end of lap 3. And what can be said? I mean, I started the race with softs. It was a bad idea already. I apologize to Rory for the contact. It wasn't intentional. It was just a complete car miss of control. I don't even know how to say it. So now I'm just trying to do the best that I can with the rest of the race. I'm going to pull this move into the hairpin on this German driver. By the way, if you think that was a contact, it wasn't. I checked the replay. You can believe me on that. If you want proof, just let me know in the comments. I can always share that proof to you. So now we're going to head into the end of lap 4, entering lap 5. Got Super GT power. I'm guessing he's very inspired by Steve. And who wouldn't be? Steve is one of the greatest to ever do it on YouTube and the sim racing content. He's going to head into the pits, and then this incident's going to happen right in front of us at the end of turn 1. 2 drivers are going to go into the sand. A little bit of a racing incident between them. Contact, unwanted contact, that's going to put them both out of the track. So that's at least 2 positions that I'm able to recover. However, got Super GT power is going to stay ahead of me still when I am almost finishing my medium stint. And I'm going to try to put the chase on him to try to see if I can overtake him in this process. So we're heading out of Degna 2 and now heading out of Spoon 2, and I'm going to try to get the run into 130R to see if I can make the overtake at this point. He's going to take a little defensive line in the middle. I ended up switching over to the outside line, and he's still ahead by this point. I'm not going to be able to pull the move. So he survives in P12 at this point, going into the Casio triangle. We're taking our line. I actually have a little bit of a better exit, but again, can't make contact with him, don't want to make contact with him, so he still keeps the position. We're heading back a lap later into Degna 1 and again Degna 2, and here's gonna come another nail in the coffin for me where I'm gonna spin, unfortunately, right under that bridge. And I'm pretty sure most of us have done that over the past of this week or over the course of just racing at Suzuka in general. So then German driver comes back. There's going to be a little bit of a rubbing into Spoon 1. I believe it's nothing intentional, to be fair, but that is going to slow me down on the exit of Spoon 2. And then the Finnish driver, ML1968, is going to have to side-by-side with me in this point at 130R. However, he backs off. He doesn't want to try the move at this point. And we're now heading into the Casio triangle, but this is where he's going to try to land the move into the chicane, and we're going to be side by side at this point. A little bit of contact and rubbing, but nothing major. We get out of the chicane. Now we're going all the way down to straight into turn 1, and then he pulls this pretty good move, trying to hold his line on the inside, and then he's going to just take off and completely leave me in the dust to take P13 back again. However, a lap later, he's going to overshoot a little bit into turn 1, trying to exit with a little bit too much. And that's going to put him in the grass for a little while, and I'm going to be able to recover that P13. So now my task is just to try to build a gap out of him. And by this point, finishing lap 10, the delta is 1 second between him and I. And I'm also keeping an eye on me and Mart right in front, who at that point was almost 4 seconds. But now, after lap 11, I was able to close down to just below 2.5 seconds, while I still have 2 seconds away from the Finnish driver behind me. So now I'm putting the pursuit to see if I can at least make P12. P12 is the best that I can get out of this race after all the mistakes that I made and all the unfortunate incidents that I was involved in. Again, nothing intentional, nothing major. All of us cause accidents every so often and every once in a while. It's just part of racing. It's in racing and Gran Turismo especially. So now exiting the hairpin at the end of the at lap 12, I'm gonna be just under a second now and heading into 130R. I'm gonna try to put the exit of my life right there to see if I can cut that gap. Heading into Casio triangle, it's almost a quarter of a second now. I'm trying to brake as late as I can, almost overshooting the chicane, but trying to exit as early as possible. I have the run, but he has the inside line. Am I gonna be able to make it to the finish line? Unfortunately, I can't. So I ended up with P13 on this race. Well done, Mart, for defending that position. And now race 3, last race that I'm gonna do on this day, and now starting in P3. So we're gonna have Luke and Levicius at this case. Seize was almost about to join, but unfortunately the servers let him down at the start of the race, so he actually had to be disconnected out of it. So I'm starting P3, and I have the German driver right behind me, and I seem just to have a very slow start on these races, especially in turn 1. It might just be that I'm just not good enough. Unfortunately, Luke is going to find himself once again into the Dunlop curves, snapping the car a little bit. Just a beast of a car this is, to be fair. So it's not hard to control, even for very skilled drivers. So that's going to put me in P2. And now I'm going to try to put the pursuit on Levicius once again to see if I can catch up to his pace and just keep the slipstream to allow me to be as close to him as I can. But he's already pulling away, and I'm now having to think about this German driver right behind me, who is not making the move at 130R. So I'm just thinking maybe he wants to work together, but I was completely dummied when I looked at him in the rearview mirror trying to pull the move at Casio Triangle. And at insult to injury, then I ended up almost snapping oversteer the car, and I ended up losing 3 more positions after that. So now I'm down in P5 at the start of lap 2. Lucky for me, the driver in front, Mac, is gonna actually overshoot turn 1, so I recover 1 position out of that, and now I'm in P4 once again. So lap 3, I'm just trying to follow the drivers right ahead. Lappies and Bielefan right in front of me, and Levicius is just pulling away at this point. So I'm just trying to keep as close as I can, and when I see them actually pulling away fairly quickly and easily, I started thinking maybe they're on the soft tires once again, and maybe I'm just gonna have one run of luck where they're gonna have to change into mediums and I can catch up by the end of the race. So heading into the hairpin once again, lap 4, and I'm trying to pull the exits as best as I can to try to get as close to that delta as I possibly can. However, the delta just seems to keep increasing. So at this point, I was just hoping to see if by the end of lap 4 or lap 5 they were going to go into the pits. They didn't do it on lap 4, and my pace is about just, again, 1 second slower than the rest of the pack at the end of lap 4. So lap 5 they stay out, and at this point my hopes were starting to diminish quite a bit, because soft tires only last you for about 4 good laps, maybe 5 if you know how to maintain them and wear them correctly. But in this case, they were staying out all the way through lap 6 and lap 7. So at this point, it was very evident and obvious that they were on the medium compound. So that would put quite a strain in my efforts to try to get another podium on this day. So now we're going to head into lap 8. We're going to enter the pits, and I'm going to change into the soft tires once again. Delta from Lappies is just shy of 3 seconds, so we're about 2.6, 2.7 seconds by this point. Trying to exit turn 1 to see if I can close that gap as much as I can all the way until the end of the race. And then I'm going to head into spoon 2, heading into the exit and looking ahead to 130R. And to my surprise, I am going to notice that Lappies is actually serving a penalty, and it's going to slow him down quite significantly. And I was very surprised, if you can notice my reaction. So let's see the replay of that. And when he enters the pit, he actually ends up cutting the pit line quite evidently. And that, of course, is going to mean a 3-second penalty to serve. So that's going to put me now ahead in P3. And I'm able to build up to 1.7 seconds, 1.6 seconds at this point. So now it's just a matter of trying to keep the pace as tight as possibly, as tight as I possibly can, to see if I can maintain that podium position and go away with the 3rd race being another podium in my day. But as you can see, Lappies is very quick, and he's cutting that gap ever so quickly. So now we're down to 1.2 seconds. In the middle of lap 10, I'm exiting the hairpin, and I'm just maintaining that gap up until that range. So now we're heading into lap 11 and taking turn 1 once again. 1.3 seconds, 1.2 seconds is still the gap. And I'm gonna go through the SS once again, trying to do it as quickly as I can, but not forcing any mistakes. I don't want to give him any leeway or make his job any easier already than it should be. And then I'm heading into Degna, and Degna 2 is one of the complicated corners for me in this track. I'm actually overshooting that, and you're gonna see how that delta just chops down all the way down to almost half a second. But I'm also gonna take the hairpin, which it's quite complicated, but I enjoy when I get a good exit out of it, all the way up to now 9/10 or 8/10 of a second. So that means I was able to recover some of it. So now, heading into 130R once again at the exit of Spoon 2, but the delta keeps chopping down. So now we're talking about half a second only that he has, and the slipstream actually cuts it all the way down to 3/10, just shy of 4/10. So this is going to be the last lap for me to see if I can actually defend a podium position right here. And I'm going to have to try it with all fuel in the tank that I have left, all the tires that I have left in those compounds, in the soft compounds. And this is going to be a full lap that you're going to watch. So I'm going to head into turn 1, trail brake into the corner, exiting in 4th gear, all the way through the SS. Delta is still at around 4/10 of a second. I'm keeping an eye on the rear view mirror, but also keeping an eye on every single apex that I need to hit to put the perfect lap to defend this podium position. I'm gonna finish with a 29.5 in that sector, just 3/10 shy of my best lap, was what a 45.0. Degna 1 almost overshot it, but everything is okay. Degna 2 much better this time, and I don't lose any time, and in fact I'm actually gaining now some gap, increasing the gap all the way up to almost 9/10 of a second, going once again through the hairpin. And here we got the exit in second, maintaining that gap all the way around 8 to 9/10. So we're heading all the way down, preparing for Spoon 1, gonna look for that escape route, brake and trail brake all the way into the first apex, exit in 3rd, now trail brake a little bit in 2nd, double shift up to 4th, didn't hit the apex as beautifully as I could, but still a good enough corner to maintain that gap at 7/10 of a second. 130R for the last time in this race, a second above my best lap, but we're at least maintaining that delta. And for the final time, Casio Triangle, the 100-meter board, braking all the way into the first apex of the chicane and exiting in 3rd for the second one, just shy of half a second, but I'm able to maintain P3 to gain another podium in the day. So that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed those races and you want to see more content like this, please make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below of what was your favorite moment of this video, and I hope you really enjoyed this one, and I'll see you again on the next time. See you later.